What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to begin into Soul Leveling episode 10 reaction. Last episode was a banger once again. Been excited to get into this next episode to see a little bit of the fallout from his fight with Khan. The Hunter Association is going to be on his trail a little bit more. Maybe Dong-Soo is going to come back into the picture soon. Everything's kind of starting to heat up and expand in this world, and it's getting really exciting. So let's go ahead and get right into this episode. Yeah, you haven't changed at all. Yeah.
そうですよね。私はハンターの仕事をするには臆病すぎるみたいです。克服しようとはしましたが、うまくいきません。
It's a tough job.
本当なら A 級や B 級、せめて C 級レイドに参加するべきなのに、わざと D 級や E 級のレイドに参加してきました。そこでジヌさんと知り合って、気づけばいつも手当てをしていたような気がします。最初は何度も怪我をされて少し不安でした。だけどジヌさんは必ず生き抜く人でした。生命力みなぎるあの強い眼差しを私は一生忘れ
Radiate
ません。
vitality, I like that.
一緒に食事に行く約束でしたよね。これお返しします。
まさか
私引退することにしました。
So she's made up her mind.
実家に帰ります。もし近くに寄られることがあったら連絡してください。
Aww.
案内しますね。
I mean, it seems like she's pretty convinced about it. She doesn't seem to be sad about it.
その時にもう一度食事に誘います。
No, not really where I thought I was gonna go, but I mean, there's something to be said if you know you're not, this path isn't the right for you. It's not always a bad thing to back out, you know?
A 級のあなたが B 級のカン・テシクを倒したなんて思っちゃいません。正確性を疑うのは前回の一度きりで十分でしょう。
Oh, so did he talk to him
それ
afterwards?
でも一応お伝えしておきます。長生きしたければお気をつけください。
どういう意味ですか。
この間のファンドンソク攻撃隊全滅事件、生存者は D 級ハンターとあなただ。
I wonder if he's gonna warn about
ファンド
Dong-Soo.
ンソクの弟であるファンドンスハンター
Yeah.
があなたたちを狙っているかもしれない。
S 級ハンターのファンドンス。
Nah, he's an S rank, yep.
重要なのはファンドンソクが死に、あなたがあそこから生きて帰ってきたという。
Yep.
相手が S 級ともなると法なんかでは制御できません。彼らは奇跡であると同時に災害にも似た存在ですから怪物たちですら恐れ
Often comes with power.
あなたたちを狙っているかもしれんということです。できる
Man.
ことなら家族を連れてこの国を離れた方がいいと思いますよ。
Yeah, go and witness protection program.
強くならなければいけない理由がもう一つ増えた。
Yeah, I mean, how do you actually control people that strong? You're kind of at the mercy of their power. It's Dong-Soo coming back in the picture.
ジンホ、これって何の集まり。
Jinho's so happy.
集まりって決まってるじゃないですか。うちの攻撃隊です。
Jinho makes me laugh so much.
事情があって活動できない人たちや生活に困っている人を優先的に集めてみました。
怪我人による。
Drunks. The lazy
救急ゲー
drunks.
トには最低8人必要ですから。
なあ、子供が紛れ込んでるけど。
一応未成年者でも覚醒していれば法的に問題はありません。
I wonder if there's gonna be any false rankers in
失
here.
礼じゃないですか。
Oh, she's
全部高
fiery.
校生だろ。レイド経験。
おりません。
ランクは E 級。
だから何ですか。
Because Jinwoo knows what's up.
どうせ外で待っててもらうだけだ。ダンジョンには俺とジンホの2人で潜る。
本当に2人だけで行くんですか。それに外で待ってるだけで300万って。はい、レイド1回につき
It's a good deal.
戦わずにもらえるなんて美味しいでしょ。ただし口外禁止です。漏洩が発覚した場合は契約通り報酬金額の10倍を支払っていただきます。
Jinho knows his contracts. Oh, the
早
stone
速
rune.
使ってみるか。
Yeah, let's use it in front of everyone.
よし。
So he learned it. Yep. Damn, that's gonna be such a strong ability. Oh my god. Are you?
作られた
Oh my
兄
god.
貴と僕
Jinho, the raid boss. Look at this guy.
はい
Reminds me of a Christmas story. Ralph's little brother rolling around in the snow, can't get up with all his stuff on.
なんだか緊張しますね。
まだ頭になんかついてるぞ。
せめて兜だけでも。
Yeah, man, he's got to at least have some swag. Come on.
行くぞ。はい。
本当に二人で行ったぞ。大丈夫なのか？
C 級レイドを D 級と E 級の二人でだ。
Yeah.
青いガキどもが世の中舐め腐ってやがる。
I wonder if this guy's drinking because he's seen a lot.
そういうのやつサボり
Oh, we haven't seen her in a bit. Oh, is that her? Oh, yeah, that's her friend. I forgot. Man, it's been a long time.
1時間ぐらいだ。
She's the one who like was like, I could do better than your brother.
2時間以上かかる。まだまだ。
逃げてきたか。運のいい。
ゲートが閉じ始めた。
嘘だろ。
次のゲートはどこ？
ここから1時間ほどかかります。
Man, they're just gonna be grinding. Get that efficiency training going.
1日に900万稼ぐチャンスですよ。行かないんですか？
こいつ。
No, goblins are no match, baby.
採掘終わりました。
了解。片付けますか。
Damn, the animation. Jinho. I love Jinho so much. Man, he's leveling up like crazy. Ooh, the stealth. Oh yeah, so it is just like Cons. You have the same
串持ってたのか。
look of it and everything.
また強くなったような。
隠密スキル。入手経路は気に入らないが、やはり優秀なスキルだ。姿を消して戦えるのは効率がいい。
Yeah, much safer. I bet it's gonna come into play with Dongsu too.
上がったか。新スキル。上級探検術と
Ooh, new skills.
なかなか使えるじゃん。
God, makes me want to play some video games, man.
少し休んでいてください。
Every time I watch it.
面白いスキルが増えた。だがどれを使うにしても
I'm gonna have to go back and look at those.
マナの総量も足りない。今後は知能能力値も磨いていく。
Okay, so his intellect raises his mana.
さて、
Makes sense.
順調だがこのまま悪魔の城に向かうか。
Hmm.
今の俺の力は B 級以上
Yeah.
A 級未満と
If that's an S rank, he needs to grind more.
大丈夫なのか。
The required level.
レベルに到達しました。
A job. Ooh. So he can get like an actual job.
これ見てくださいよ。アン課長。
Dude, so cool.
ギチュル。
C 級
Kicho.
ゲートの競売に関してなんですが。
1億5000万 C 級ゲートの参加許可のために1億5000万も使ったや
Used in construction.
C 級ゲートが発生するたびに相場の倍以上で落札していく攻撃隊がいて、
リーダーはユジンホ聞いたことない名前だ
Jinho.
人建設会長の次男だそうです。
これじゃ下手すり赤字だぞボンボンのおふざけにしては度が過ぎているソンジーヌ E 級
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna raise a lot of questions.
いやこのソンジーヌって名前確かこの前の20ダンジョン事件でも匂うこれは匂うぞ
Is he like an investigator?
すみません、遅れました。
There's playing cards.
予定よりも早いですよ
思ったよりもマナ鉱石の回収に手間取っちゃって。
疲れてるでしょう。運転変わりましょうか。何もしてないと暇で。
何？
別に
損じるハンターが再覚醒者？
ああそうだ
何か根拠は？
Based on doing C ranks.
何度も大惨事に遭遇したのに無事だった一つ目は20ダン
Damn, the double dungeon,
二つ
man.
目
What
は
a throwback
反
now.
動速攻撃隊全滅事件三つ目は監視下ハンターによる服役囚殺害事件どれも参加者のほとんどが亡くなったというのに彼は生き残る再覚醒者じゃなければ説明がつかない
ところでアン課長、どこに行くんですか？
決まってるだろ新人をスカウトしに行くんだ
Trying to get him in a guild.
なんだまるでじゃねえか
おじさんここ
立ち入り禁止区域ですけど。
ああ、ごめんごめん。ハンターのような人たちが集まっていたからつい気になって。
子供扱いしないでください。私もハンター。
She sure sounds like a little child.
それじゃまさか君もこの攻撃隊に？
はい。
え？でもソンハンター、攻撃隊を置いて自分たちだけで潜ったのか。私の勘が正しければ久しぶりの大物、いや超大物だ。
So is this guy from a guild?
それじゃあ気をつけて。
Maybe I missed it, but
もう行くんすか課長。
the captain.
明日の予定ってどんな感じ？休養を思い出したんだけど休めないかな。
Tell me you want that PTO that short notice? Come on.
そこまでする必要ないだろう。金がもったいない。
2日までなら取っておけますよ。
じゃあとりあえず保留にしておいてくれ。
わかりました。お待たせしました皆さん。さあ次へ行きましょう。
Damn, what's this? Is this like a vision? Oh, damn, it's a nightmare. Probably from Jeju Island. Man, that must have been a disaster.
あの夢か。いいよいいよだ。
Top secret.
突然申し訳ございません。ソンハンター。はじめまして。白虎ギルド第二管理課の。
Okay, White Tiger. Okay.
少々お時間をいただけないでしょうか。改めて説明する必要。
The common meetup place, cafe.
白虎ギルドはこの国におけるトップレベルのギルドです。ですが優秀な人材は常に必要としています。友人建設の2倍をお約束いたしますので、白虎ギルドに来ていただけませんか。ソンハンターのご希望に添えるようにいたします。
Trying to get scalped.
この間まで E 級だったハンターにとってはまたとないチャンス。必ずイエスと言
He's gonna say no for sure.
白虎ギルドのビルって一体いくらなんですか？
はい。あ、だいたい500億ほどでしょうか。
ってことはそれをくださるってことですかね？
と申しますと。
Yeah, isn't Jinho offering him like 30 billion or something? Yeah.
300億
Yeah, I don't know if you can match that,
友人建設の報酬
bro.
として提示してきたのは300億のビルです。その2倍とおっしゃったので500億のビルをいただけるのかと思いましたが、信じられないのでしたらここに証拠もあります。
しかし、
He must be out of your price range,
ここまでの
bro.
額になりますと私人間と話し合ってから。
それじゃあお話は以上ですね。
友人建設での待遇を調べてから。
Rookie mistake.
そうだ、それより僕のことは誰からお聞きになったんですか？まさか隠れて調べたんじゃないでしょうね。
Dang, Jinwoo's a savage, man.
隠密スキル。
He fucking
再覚醒者だったのか。
he sliced him, bro.
建設が提示した金額にも納得がいく。無断で調査したことは申し訳ありません。
振り返らない。
ダンジョンの買い占めによって新人の訓練が行えず、
Dang, Jinwoo, bro, he's savage.
そこでゲートの売買交渉をしようと買い占めた人物を調べていくうちにソンハンターのことを知りました。
僕のことを知っている人は他にどれくらいいます？
私と部下の一人だけです。
このことはあまり人に知られたくないんですよ。僕の噂が聞こえてくればアンさんたちを真っ先に疑うことになるでしょう。
Damn.
ギルド長に報告する義務がありますが、私も死にたくはありません。部下にもしっかり口止めしておきます。
うちが C 級を独占しご迷惑をおかけしていたんですね。でも申し訳ありませんがしばらくは続けるつもりです。
困りましたね。このままだと新人の活動が立ち行かない。
それなら取引をしませんか？こちらが予約している C 級ゲートを3つお売りします。これを逃せばしばらく C 級には参加できないとお考えください。
まるで煽りの。
Jinwoo, the businessman. He's learning from
お
Jinho.
いくらですか？
一つあたり3億だ。
3億 C 級ゲートで手に入るマナ鉱石と魔宝石はせいぜいせめて2億まで下げていただけませんでしょうか。
商談成立です。
Man.
それでは3つ譲っていただけるんですね。
はい。C 級ゲート3つ、合計6億で。
ではそれで
振り込みは本日中にこちらへ。ああ、それとこちらを差し上げます。目を閉じて口を開けていただけますか。大丈夫、危害は加えません。
嘘だろ、傷が消えた。
では
Dang, dude, Jinwoo
見
smooth.
せてくださったということは信頼していただけていると考えてよろしいでしょうか。
秘密を口外しない分ですけどね。
課長、どうだったんですか、スカウトは。
おいギチョル、彼は思っていた以上の大物かもしれないぞ。
Yeah, for real. Yeah, you have no clue, man, still.
兄貴、入金が確認できました。本当に6億入ってきてます。キャンセルしようとしてたゲートを一体どうやってこんな高値で。
企業秘密だ。
Come on, you gotta let your business partner know.
区域で C 級ゲートが余っている。
はい、あの3件以外友人建設は入札してません。入札価格も7000万以下ばかりです。騙されてたんですよ。
スカウトに失敗しただけで
Got
たる失態。
scammed, bro.
しても怖かないってか。
Yeah, bold, bold.
誰から。
ソンジヌです。隠れて調査されたことをこれで水に流しましょう。
なるほど、そうきたか。侮れない人だ。
Yeah, for real.
今回はいっぱい食わされたがソンハンターの連絡先が手に入ったんだ。今回はこれでよしとしよう。
This guy's a little bold too, man.
転職クエストか、楽しみだ。
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. That was a fun episode. Really enjoyable. All right, everyone, that was Solo Leveling episode 10. What is this? A picnic? Really fun episode. I really enjoyed how much more chill this episode was, especially from the intensity of the last episode. I feel like every time, Jinwoo gets put in a predicament in a dungeon, it's kind of nice to have a more decompressing episode afterwards. Similar to when he fought Dong-suk and had to murder all of those hunters. And, last episode with murdering Khan, it was pretty heavy emotionally, right? Like, it was really sad with Mr. Kim and Mr. Kane dying. Jinwoo having to sacrifice a little bit of his humanity once again. And in this episode, we kind of, get a little bit more of a, not really a fallout from that episode, but we get more with Jinho and them, kind of building up their raid team and taking on more of these easy dungeons and kind of grinding XP. And it's a nice way to kind of settle down from last episode. I have to say off the bat, favorite part of the whole episode was definitely Jinho with his damn armor. I think he said it was like an Italian import and he just looked freaking hilarious. That's exactly why I love Jinho so far. Really loving their dynamic still. It's been fun to have him back. I'm glad he didn't have to cancel the deal or anything. But this episode starts off with a little interaction between Juhee and Jinwoo. And last time I talked a little bit about Juhee and whether she was ever going to actually really overcome her fears, because I believe 2 episodes ago we get a little bit of a dialogue between her and her mom, and Juhee's definitely depressed about everything, and she says she wants to keep trying. And in this interaction, or I guess in the last dungeon, we see she kind of crumbles again and she fails, but she kind of has a different energy about her in this episode. She seems kind of relaxed and calm and almost happy. She tells Jinwoo that she's planning on retiring from being a hunter. That she's really tried her best, but she just thinks she's too timid to be a hunter. And I think that was actually a really good move for her. I think in general in life, a lot of people look down at people for failing and changing or taking a step back and moving away from what you're doing, because I think a lot of times the default for that is like, oh, you're not trying hard enough, you're being lazy, or you need to push through that, have grit kind of thing. And not that all that's true. Obviously, a lot of people shy away from conflict and resistance, but especially in some, this situation with your life being on the line and, it being a dangerous field. I don't really think there's anything wrong with trying to switch paths, right? Especially when you've really tried your best. You've faced that conflict multiple times like Juhi has. Like, she tried to go in weaker dungeons to support herself and to try to build up that courage and see if she could really have that, that instinct or clutchness in those moments, those life or death moments. But she's tried her best, and no matter what, when the stakes get raised, she kind of crumbles, right? And even though she tried, she can't overcome that. And so maybe it's just not for her. Even though she's been awakened and blessed with this gift, there's a side of her that it isn't for her, right? And I think it's cool to see them take that approach. I'd imagine that Juhi's not going to be out of this story though. I mean, obviously Jinwoo and Juhi's connection is still there, and maybe she'll be forced back into being a hunter at some point, but we'll have to see how that goes later in the story. But it did get me thinking a little bit about even just being, having a magical power, not technically being a hunter anymore, but still having this awakened power. And, she's a healer. If anything, that's the most practical one to have, and not being a hunter, right? Like, even in real life, like, someone breaks a leg or whatever it might be, maybe she could be a doctor, I feel like there's probably other avenues for a career that are safer for her that don't involve going to a dungeon, right? Like, she can still heal people and be really useful to society, right? And still get fulfillment from her, that kind of avenue of work. So we'll see if they play into that a little bit. I think it was an interesting move for her character, and I didn't really expect it. So it was kind of fun to see that twist. We also get a little shot of manager Woo talking to Jinwoo and saying right off the bat, like, I don't believe you guys that, Mr. Son and Juhi took out Khan. And he even warns Jinwoo about Dong-soo and that he's probably going to be after him. And we do get confirmation that Dong-soo is an S rank. And I really liked what they said in this. He described Dong-soo as one of the monsters that even monsters fear, right? And I think it's kind of funny because he's talking about, this in the context of Jinwoo. So it's almost like he's saying, hey, you might be a monster. I'm not gonna say, I haven't seen you in action, but you might be a monster. But even monsters fear Dong-soo, or an S rank. The law can't control an S rank. And I thought that was a really cool way to write about that. And that line of dialogue was really cool. So obviously Jinwoo takes this to heart. He's like, hey, I gotta level up. I gotta increase my strength, or else I'm not gonna survive. But after that, we kind of go more into Jinho and Jinwoo building up their strike team here, right? And Jinho collects this, sort of eclectic group of some drunks, some injured hunters, basically anybody who, isn't really gonna go into the dungeon with them. They're not gonna have a problem with it. They're still paying them. They even have, I think Jinho's a classmate, I think her name is Song Yi, and she's skipping class to go do this raid. And she kind of has, she's a little enamored with Jinwoo a bit. She's definitely giving him some looks. And, originally in the first, I think it's the first episode or second episode, where she kind of like says to Jinwoo's sister that, yeah, she could do better than Jinwoo. He's an E rank, but I think they basically confirmed that she's an E rank as well. So maybe she has some kind of level of envy, or maybe it's admiration. I don't know. She seems to blush a bit. So we'll have to see as, their dynamic kind of evolves from here. But I thought it was interesting that we're starting to get more of her, and it's kind of a callback to those previous episodes. I had completely forgotten about her character. But we can see quickly as, they go into these dungeons, their strike team's pretty skeptical about their ability, but they knock it out in an hour. We see Jinwoo leveling up like crazy from this. Jinho's main, task in these dungeons is just to collect all the crystals. And he's just a workhorse there, which I think is pretty funny. But we do see that Jinwoo crushes the stealth rune that he gets from his battle with Khan, and it seems to be the exact same ability. I think it says that it takes 200 mana to use, and then it's 1 mana per second. So it definitely seems pretty mana intensive. So it does have, kind of a skill ceiling to, or, I guess not a skill ceiling, but a ceiling to it, so it's not completely overpowered, right? Like, you still have to consider mana. And even after leveling up, he gets a couple new abilities, and he levels up his dash. So his dash skill is improved, I assume, so he's gonna be even faster, which is great. He gets advanced dagger wielding and fatal strike. We don't get any information about Fatal Strike. I don't think we could see the card there, but the advanced dagger wielding is 33% increased damage while he's wielding a dagger. So that in itself is a huge buff. It did say, I think Jinwoo did say that, I guess the Fatal Strike is a bit more mana intensive, and that plus the stealth. I think the advanced dagger wielding is just a passive, so probably doesn't use mana, but Jinwoo says that it's a little mana intensive, right? So he needs to start focusing on intellect, which I guess is probably the ability point that translate with your mana pool going up as well. So it's cool to see, you know, that's very similar to an MMO, you know, it's something that you kind of always have to balance when you're leveling up your player or your character in an MMO. You know, it's a functional thing to have a big mana reserves. I mean, you could always carry a lot of like mana potions and re-up it, but especially if you have a lot of abilities, like if you're a mage or whatever, you know, you really need to make sure you have enough mana to support your skills, or at least enough potions to keep re-upping it. We also kind of get a power ranking of Jinwoo at this point. He says he's between a B and an A rank, which I think makes sense because he took out Khan, who was an upper B rank last time. So I'd imagine he was already pretty close to that, or at least his skills like Murderous Intent kind of put him over the edge over Khan. So maybe, you know, on a pure strength level, he's between a B and an A rank, but his dagger and his abilities that he has kind of gives him a little bit of a buff. I'd imagine that, you know, whatever his technical rating is, he's probably always has a little bit up on that rank because of all of his all of his skills that he has, and especially the unknown when he's facing other hunters. Like other hunters, like Khan, didn't know about Murderous Intent and the fact that he can do total recovery if he saves that. Those two things are really strong for him, and it's not something that other hunters really have access to. I think the coolest part of this and what makes me the most excited for the next episode was that he reaches a level and he gets a prompt saying that he's reached the required level and that he can get access to a job change quest. And right off the bat, you know, I think way back when he says he has a title and a job, and you know, I was wondering when the job was going to come into play for him, because it seems like, you know, other hunters are like, you know, warriors or tanks, mages, assassin builds, and now he gets to probably choose his own. It seems like right now he doesn't have one, and I'd assume that when he does this quest, he'll be able to choose which one he wants to kind of lean into, right? I mean, he's always going to have skills or a skill set that's pretty broad because he kind of acquires different ones. And right now, most of it seems to be leaning towards the assassin class. So I'll be curious to see if he sticks with that or if he's able to change course a little bit, if he wants to. I don't know, it makes it super interesting. It seems like, you know, anything could happen from here in terms of his skill set. And I mean, personally, I really like the assassin build kind of thing. I think it fits his style really well, especially for kind of having a unique skill set and wanting to stay under the radar. The stealth ability is already proving to be really useful. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But it reminds me so much of choosing a class in a video game. You know, some video games you kind of choose it later on, some you choose it from the start. One of the main MMOs I played growing up was MapleStory, that and RuneScape. But in MapleStory, you have to get to like level 10 before you can choose your job, right? In this case, it kind of seems like that, right? He's reached the level requirement to go pick his first job. And from there, you get, you know, access to new skills, and they're obviously stronger than what you had before. But even within the job in MapleStory, once you hit like level 30, you can go to the job advancement, and then level 70 job advancement, 120 job advancement. So you always had like a new level to reach, and you could keep on getting access to new abilities. It was always super exciting. It's like those were the milestones for yourself. The last little bit of this episode was focused around the White Tiger Guild manager On, and he's kind of you know, he sees that all the C rank dungeons are being bidded super high by the Yujin company, by Jinho, and this new raid party. And you know, he kind of starts asking questions. He sees Jinwoo's name, and he actually knows about Jinwoo from the Double Dungeon. He knows about him from Dong Suk's party who all got killed, and even Khan. So he's very much up to date on all the, you know, happenings of these dungeons. So he must be very in the weeds in terms of the data and whatnot. And he quickly gets excited because he's like, oh, he was an E rank. He's like, I smell an opportunity here. And he thinks that maybe this is somebody he can recruit for the White Tiger Guild. So he meets up with Jinwoo, and they go and talk in the cafe. And I thought it was pretty funny how he's like, we're prepared to offer you double. And then Jinwoo's like, all right, well, what's your HQ worth 50 billion. He was, all right, you're gonna pay me that, right? Because that's, you know, that's what Yujin companies offering me is, you know, the value of their new building, or double the value of their new building. So he finds out pretty quickly that he can't afford him, and that in itself should be a clue, you know, how strong Jinwoo is, and he almost gets more excited from it, right? And Jinwoo goes to leave, but he activates his stealth and he cuts him, and, you know, basically like sets up a threat from the start. Talk about Jinwoo being bold, right? Like, and here we go again, right? Talking about his, you know, kind of the ethical values here, right? In this case, he's kind of being a businessman, but he's also protecting himself, but it's done in a very threatening way. He's like, hey, like, why were you snooping? Who knows about me? And he gets information. He's like, you know, he uses his strength to kind of use that as a bartering chip. Be like, hey, you can't talk about me anymore. Don't do any more investigation. And once he finds out all the information, like, he reveals himself to him again, and then he ends up pretty much scamming Manager On for selling 3 of the dungeons that he was going to cancel anyways, or that he was delaying and might have ended up canceling because he had plans that next day, right? And he sells it to him for 600 million, even though at the next day you see there's a bunch of new Seagates that are, you know, up for auction way lower than that. I'm talking about the boldness of Jinwoo here, right? Like he uses his stealth skill and continues to talk to him, so he's kind of exposing his stealth skill. He uses the healing potion on him afterwards to heal him, which I don't think most hunters have access to that kind of stuff. And so he's revealing himself to this guy and kind of trusting him, but it's more of like a bartering chip. Be like, hey, this is my level of strength. You know I can come after you. If anybody else finds information about me, you're gonna be my first suspect, basically. So even it's kind of like a little of a risky scenario, because he didn't have to reveal more of his powers. Like, revealing stealth is a pretty big deal. Like, this guy could tell people about his powers at this point, but he's trusting the fact that his power will keep this guy's mouth shut, basically. And even when Manager On gets scammed, he finds out he gets scammed, and Jinwoo sends him that message saying, this is, you know, we're even now for, you know, you snooping on me. Manager On is kind of excited about it. He's like, oh, I got his contact info. So I don't think it's gonna be the last we see of him. He seemed pretty bold himself. So I'd imagine they're gonna kind of come back into play, and he could tell Beck, for example, the guild master, about him. And I feel like Beck would, you know, protect this manager. Obviously he's an S rank. So we'll see if Jinwoo's, you know, bold barter, or, you know, laying out this big chip here plays off in this bet, but it's a little bit of a gamble, right? So we'll have to see. Lastly, we get a little quick shot of the Hunter Guild Master. I think his name is Choi Jongin. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but he has a nightmare, and it's just like the flashback that Beck had of the ants kind of killing someone, tearing them apart, those giant ones at Jeju Island. And, you know, he says he's had it, you know, the same dream multiple times. So obviously Jeju Island is like, it definitely went to shit. You know, in the first episode, it seemed triumphant and all this stuff, but it did not go well. And then it kind of flashes to his, I guess, operations plan for a reconnaissance mission to Jeju Island. So I feel like that's going to be coming up in the plot line. I'd imagine we're probably not going to get that in season 1. It's probably a future plot point. But I thought it was interesting that, once again, we're getting more information about Jeju and how bad it was. It'll be really cool once we get more of the backstory, because I'd assume that we're going to get more information about the world, about the hunters' power scaling, because even S-rank hunters couldn't, you know, defeat the bosses there. It'll be really, really interesting to see where that goes. But yeah, really fun episode. I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and review. If you did, go ahead and like the video. Drop a comment down below on what y'all thought about the reaction in this episode, what you think of Jinho and all his armor all decked out. And yeah, go ahead and subscribe if you guys have been following along. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. Peace.